I've noticed that when I am in a fasted state, so when I'm in ketosis, when I'm, burning fatty acids and making keto bodies and using them as energy, I'm like on top of my mental game.
So Rhonda Patrick is absolutely right. Fasting definitely elevates your focus. But this should not come as a surprise. In fact, this is something that ancient Greek philosophers did 2,000 years ago, essentially to improve their mental acuity. It's something that numerous other people have spoken about. In fact, in my 2020 book, Time Rich, I wrote about the benefits of fasting and how fasting actually improves your focus and helps you stay focused for longer. Now, I myself have been fasting in the morning for years. Typically, I stop eating at about, say, 7 p.m. the night before, and I won't eat until about 11 a.m. or midday the following day. And that's because I like to front load most of my deep work. So anything that requires deep cognition and focus, writing, researching, putting together proposals, strategy work, all that sort of stuff that requires me to just be in the zone, I will do that in the morning. I'll also do podcast interviews and things of that persuasion, important sales calls. I'll try to get those front loaded when I am at my absolute best mentally, because once I start eating, once I get later in the day, I'm an early bird and my focus tends to flag. So why are human beings more focused when we don't eat? Well, this goes back to evolution. I mean, human beings or Homo sapiens, we've only been walking this earth for about 250 odd thousand years. Earth itself has been spinning for about 4 billion years. So let's face it, we're not that sacred. We've not been here for all that long. But it's important to note that of those 250,000 years, most of that time, 240,000 years in fact, we were simple hunter-gatherers. We were running around the African savannah, living day by day, trying to avoid predators, trying to pursue prey, and ultimately we could go days without eating. So our brain adapted to that, and it became wired to conserve energy. Because if you don't know when you're going to eat, you need to essentially conserve energy for moments of fight or flight. So while we're surrounded by our devices and the comforts of the modern age, our brain still thinks we're on the African savannah. And that's why fasting is a very powerful tool in your arsenal to help you become more focused. But bro science aside, let's see what the actual science has to say about this. So we'll see what the science has to say in a moment. But before that, if you enjoy this channel, take a moment to subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. But most of all, I'd love to know if you fast, and if so, for how long. Please leave a comment below. I'd love to connect with you. So in 2018, Mark Mattson and a group of researchers put together a study on intermittent metabolic switching, or IMS, which refers to periods of exercise and fasting, followed by periods of eating, rest, and sleeping. And they looked at the impact of this on cognition, on sensory motor performance. Now, the researchers made a number of general conclusions. Conclusion number one, cognition, sensory motor function, and physical performance can be enhanced by IMS protocols such as intermittent fasting and or vigorous exercise. 2, fasting upregulates the signaling of neurotrophic factor. So that is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which essentially helps us to become way more alert in the moment. It serves a number of other functions too, but they're beyond the scope of this episode. 3, they found that lifestyles with little or no IMS, or intermittent metabolic switching, result in suboptimal brain functionality, and also the increased risk of major neurodegenerative diseases and psychiatric disorders. Now, of course, one of the things they found in this study, which should not be a surprise to people who've read up on fasting previously, is that once your glucose stores are depleted, your brain will start to produce ketone bodies and use them as a source of energy. Now, the benefits of ketones as opposed to, say, glucose or carbohydrates is that it is a much slower release source of energy, which helps you stay focused for longer, as opposed to, say, eating a big, carby, simple carb, starchy hamburger and some chips and crashing, say, an hour later. Now, these ketone bodies are known as hydroxybutyrate and acetoketate. And hydroxybutyrate has essentially been found to upsignal the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Now, if you want to learn more about this, I published a longer form episode about fasting and how it elevates your focus, which you can find up above. Now, in that episode, I talk about different fasting protocols as well. So there's a little bit more of a deep dive into fasting. I also wrote an article earlier this year called How Fasting Elevates Your Focus, which you can find over at steveglaveski.com. And you can see that up on the screen right now. Now, fasting is just one of many things you can do to improve your focus at work. And in fact, I've captured another 99 in an ebook I've published called 100 Productivity Hacks. Now, you can find that over at steveglaveski.com/downloads. With that, I'm going to bring this episode of Workflow to a close. Until next time, stay focused.